But now when I'm seeing the market right now, I see there are so many tech jobs available, and that is great start for the freshers to feel motivated. 10 years is what you need to give yourself and not compare yourself and be so focused that if people are getting on, great, the luck is in their favor, but maybe for us it's a little more delayed.
If you have some recommendation for students or aspiring people who are trying to get into Canada and specifically into food industry.
I believe that until and unless you don't have a Canadian education base, the workforce industry is not ready to recognize you.
Hello, my YouTube fam. How are you all? So, finally, I have recorded my first episode of series 101 with Expert. My motto behind starting this series is I was getting many questions and queries from individuals throughout the world, specifically about their entry in Canada. And I was pretty curious that why should not we reach out to experts and ask them like very specific questions so that they can answer and our aspirants and hustlers can get their answers throughout. So in this first episode, we're gonna hear from Neha Mehta, who is working as a food safety specialist in one of the renowned organization in Canada, which is Maple Leaf Food. Throughout this conversation, we had a lot of raw and unfiltered questions for Neha, and she has answered it in style. From that, I got to know a secret behind Neha's success. I hope you all get something from this interview. Now, without wasting time, let's get back into our video.
So hello Neha. Uh,
Hi.
Hi. So I really thank you for coming forward and on this Sunday specifically because I know the value of weekend in Canada, right?
We have the Monday to Friday grind, and Saturday, Sunday is the only time we all live. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But you found a time for this thing, so thank you for
And
that.
so did you. You were off from a late night shift too. So, thank you for showing up.
Yeah. We gotta do that. That's true. So before starting, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm
I'm
sick. I'm cold. It's very cold. It doesn't stop snowing in London. I don't know how it is there.
Oh, yeah, Ontario is kind of pretty, a less snow and kind of people take it easy too. So I guess that's fine for me. Thank you for asking. So,
Of course.
before moving further, can you just little bit like introduce yourself to our viewers? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my name is Neha. I have been in Canada for the past 8 years, and I have had a journey with the manufacturing world for the 6 years out of it.
Oh,
I paved my way into biotechnology bachelor's initially, and then walked into advanced diploma in Canada. And then I landed a job as a QC technician in Sierra Custom Food. That was the first job I ever got. That kindled my interest into food safety. It kindled into the narrative of the control I will have of the food and the quality of food that I'll bring to people's table. The job satisfaction that it brought along were all the drivers that led me to the next step, and I kept being true to the industry. The second role that I bagged was an FSQA supervisor for Simmons Pet Food, where we manufactured pet food. It was a canned facility and
oh,
ready to eat for pets. And that led to another journey of landing a role as an FSQA coordinator slash supervisor with Maple Leaf Foods. The only reason I moved to Maple Leaf Food, I would have continued my journey with Simmons otherwise, but my husband backed a role with Maple Leafs, and I made the decision to move from Mississauga to London, Ontario with him. And here we are having this conversation today.
okay, that's great. That's great. Just like you already talked about this, right? You have worked for QC and QA as well. So, like, can you tell us like a little bit difference between both of this sides of quality?
Yeah. So I was asked this question when I was in Simmons. What is the difference between quality control and quality assurance? And to tell you the truth, I learned the true meaning of it once I started working for Simmons, because
Oh,
that is how much development it brought to me in terms of career. When we talk about the term quality control, the name itself is so self-explanatory. Controlling everything in the process when we are producing something. So For example, if I'm producing chicken breasts, making sure that it is trimmed correctly so that there's less fat, there's no bones. So making sure that the CCP of bone is taken into picture, that is quality control. Making sure that there is no metal in my product, having metal detectors for it, that is quality control. Making sure that it's labeled correctly, that is again quality control. Controlling the process while we are in it. But quality assurance piece will be in the big picture. At the last step, when the product is shipping out the door, we are making sure that our quality of food is assured because it was well controlled. This is how they tie in together. And that is a very fundamental concept, that the whole chase about being the best hire and being the best leader, it phases you out on the main motive of why you are here doing what you're doing.
Okay. Okay. That is kind of it. I'm just asking the basic questions, why? Because many of them, they are coming from other background, and food industry is kind of growing, and in Canada too, because population is increasing, people will need their food, right? So that is why people are entering from other fields to our field. So they need to know the basics of the things. That's why, because many of people, they learn everything like HACCP and everything, but they don't know the basics, like what.
Basic content.
That's why
Absolutely, yeah.
I started with this question. So yeah, talking about this, can you tell me some of the attributes we should have at, like, some of the activities we should perform when we are at college level, so we get a kickstart specifically in a Canadian kind of food industry?
Um, I speak from an immigrant standpoint where the cultural shock is excessively huge. We step into Canada thinking we're just going there for studies, and we're so tunnel vision and we forget the big picture while we are at it, right? While you are in school, it will be a good practice to connect to your teachers, the way you speak with them, those will be your foundations, because these teacher roles will then be taken over by mentors in the professional world. So that needs to stay consistent. Have your practice sessions with your uh, professors. Make sure that you go a little social. I personally am not a social personality. I wouldn't interact and start a conversation with somebody I don't know that easy. But that is one of the ice breakings I had to do with myself, and understand that unless you don't connect, unless you don't uh, go over and beyond a little conversation which is unrelated to work, you will not be able to make connections and acquaintances. So having those soft skills of communicating with your peers, communicating with your one-ups, um, taking part in curricular activities where you can have the limelight on you, where you are okay having the focus on you, because a lot of us will freak out in a setup where we have to address a crowd, address people, which is 100, 200 people in the crowd. So
Yeah.
I did take that steps when I was an immigrant myself. Was a annual function that I took part in, but that was my way of challenging myself, that I will be okay if I have to present myself in front of so many people. So those little steps will boost your morale and take you to the next step, and not be fearful of, should I strike this conversation, and be in that debate with yourself.
Okay, okay. So moving ahead a little, inch by inch, that's what you're saying. Just not being
Absolutely.
professional, just a little bit having a soft skills and talking to them other than professionals. Oh, that's a great one. That's a great advice. Thank you. And secondly, I wanted to ask like one thing. Many of students, they approach me to even asking what is the role of certifications in starting in food industry. Specifically, the basic certifications like HACCP. They always ask that whether we should go for it, or or for going for a job, for getting a good job. That's what they always ask at a college level. Okay. So
Mhm.
do we really need those HACCP certification? Like, like that is a basic one, but it still has some good price, right? It has a healthy price. So, will it really kind of make a difference in a career? So, how would you take on it?
It's going to be structured. So, first, to keep in perspective why the certifications are needed, that is because in Canada, as of now, people are immigrating and they are looking for jobs that will help them get their permanent residency, in which people don't come from the same background of food safety, but they still will opt for a job in food safety. How do you meet those credentials? And that is why these certifications are now in demand, because people unrelated to the field are also going into the field.
Yeah.
That is one. Second, HACCP is if you are an individual who wants to work into quality field, food safety, quality assurance, R&D, HACCP is the foundation of our jobs. If we don't know what our plans are, if we don't know what our process flows are, if we don't know what our risks are, hazards are, we will not be able to contribute into the structure of the organization at all. So if you want to know it all, you'll have to start at your foundations being strong. And that comes with certifications, it comes with interactions, it comes with having conversations with your peers about those things too. So absolutely 100% recommend HACCP. If you want to be in this industry, get that certification under your wing, not for the sake of just getting a certification, but also for the sake of understanding the principles of HACCP too.
Okay.
So on the same line, any other certifications like GMP, Six Sigma, having those will just put you in a box which is not the mundane box. So people with graduated degrees, bachelor's, masters will also apply for the same job. But what levels me up is I have a little level of certification beyond my studies that gives me a little upper hand.
Absolutely. Okay. And like I would like to add this to like maybe also companies offer the certifications once you get employed. Like for example, SQF or BRC, the company is BRCTS certified. It also offers you those certifications, right? This is also a chance where we can get a little bit knowledge and upgradation in knowledge.
I
By me,
will, sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to break that bubble. It is not that every company would invest in
yeah,
you,
yeah.
because every company these days is asking for those credentials instead of providing those credentials. They're like, if you're
Okay.
coming in with these experiences, you have the job. So
Okay.
let's be a step ahead and see what we can do on our own.
On
Because
our
if we wait for others to provide us opportunities, we'll always be stuck.
Yeah, that's true. That's true though. Yeah, that's right. Oh, okay, this is why I feel that you have little bit quickly leveled up in your career, right? So, can you tell me some of the challenges landing in while landing in your first job and those leveling up in those organization that quickly?
Uh, I would say I was lucky and that I worked my back off. um, be that showing up on a weekend when I did not want to work, but I had to do extra hours. There was a lot of hard work put into it. There was no shortcut, to be honest with you, Shrikant. Obviously, the first breakthrough is going to be difficult. I waited for 6 months to bag a role, constantly interviewing, trying to find a technician level job when I first started. It was that hard. But now, when I'm seeing the market right now, I see there are so many tech jobs available, and that is great start for the freshers to feel motivated. Back in our time, at least maybe for the lack of resources or maybe for the lack of mindset, I didn't see these opportunities back then, and I struggled a lot more to find my first role. But once you find that role, never sit on a high horse thinking, oh, I deserve this, I've paid my dues. Even at 7 years in the industry, I don't think I have paid my dues yet. I am still at it. And that means I have to do the grind work on the floor. That means having hands on. I don't get to sit in the office and just make decisions. And I still won't for the other 5 years. And that's the truth of the industry, too. 10 years is what you need to give yourself, and not compare yourself and be so focused that if people are getting on, great, the luck is in their favor, but maybe for us, it's a little more to go.
Okay, okay. So, are you comfortable to talk about those 6 months initially, like where you struggled to get those QA into QA tech position? Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah. Um, I kind of have left them so behind because it's hard being on your own. That's one for a lot of international students, and even let's say you're born and raised here, finding a job is the same process for all of us. So there's no international and domestic in this case. But that 6 month was a lot of self-reflection and being in the mode of self-awareness. What am I not doing right? So if my first interview failed, I'm very critical and detailed about the things I've said and the things that they've questioned that help me better form my answers for the next time. You were always in that state when, damn it, if I had this question then, I would have answered this. You want to feel prepared. So, giving so many interviews in that 6 months, I was frustrated. Yes, that I'm going nowhere. I'm giving so many interviews. But what did I not see in the bigger picture is this is how many trials and opportunities I had, so that when the right opportunity hits me, I'm landing with the right answers. So, those were all a part of my grind where I was prepping myself up for those answers. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't go in the first 6 months. It could take a year. And that's where the market is, to be honest with you. Even if it does, get your learnings from it and don't discourage yourself.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, talking about your specific networking, you already talked about that in our first question, right? So, talking about networking, today's the best professional platform is LinkedIn. So, and I kind of see you are better, like well active on LinkedIn. So, do you feel that there
So
is a
are you? You're doing good too on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Thank you for that kind words. But like, do you feel that is there a role of LinkedIn in your career, and what role it can play into the any of the fresher career who is trying to enter in this industry?
I underestimated the role that it could play initially. I was just thinking that we are asked to do this in operational classes back then, and that's why I just led on to it. But little did I know that with every little update I made on my profile, with every progress I updated, it was not to flash that this is how far I'm getting, but it's kind of leaving a taste of you behind. That people have something to remember you by always, and doing these podcasts, connecting with people, I don't know how it is going to pave way for me in the future. One of you may land up in great jobs and give me a job someday. Who knows, right? So,
Yeah, that's
connections, I underestimated a lot. Um, LinkedIn, indeed, as well. It's good to have eggs in all basket. Never just focus on one thing. And while you are trying to connect with people on LinkedIn, also be sure to vocalize as well. So if you're posting, just don't repost for the sake of it. Why do you think that this is aligning with your thought process as of now? That speaks high about your mentality. And believe it or not, recruiters these days would also like to see what kind of a mindset are you made of? Because that's what leadership is all about at the end. So it plays a big, big role. Never underestimate that. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Because even if we don't feel that, but people do observe. That's what I feel. People do observe on LinkedIn, our post, our every micro things, micro activity. Sometimes people visit profile. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and just like you and me as well, I'm always curious about what is Srikant up to now. And you would also be the same about me.
absolutely.
So
Yes.
if you and I can be like that, so many more people are in this rat race with us.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. You answered every question with very precise manner. Yeah. So, while kind of ending of this interview, I would like to ask you if you have some recommendation for students or aspiring people who are trying to get into Canada and specifically into food industry. So, we need to cover both things: people who are trying to come to Canada, and then they are trying to come to food industry. So, can you start with people who are trying to come to Canada, first of all, for
That
now.
is controversial. That is not
Oh,
fair, and it's so
oh,
controversial. No, I'm just joking. I'm
okay,
joking with
okay,
you. No.
okay. So feel free to answer. I hope you understood what I want to know.
Yeah, I do. I do. I get it. I have so many questions in my inbox as well that I want to immigrate. I want to do this. How did you break through? Unfortunately, I believe that until and unless you don't have a Canadian education base, the workforce industry is not ready to recognize you so far. So if
Unfortunately.
you're planning to directly sit from the seat of your home back home and try to come here, I think that's a long shot, in my opinion. I don't mean to discourage. But after you come here as well, please do not expect all roses and flowers. It's going to be as rough as it can get. It's going to be mentally challenging. So be sure to have those mental capacity, be in touch with your parents, keep talking to people, because it can drain you down and show you the worst of you as well. So that is one reality. But in terms of what is in your control that can help you get there, if you ever are given the opportunity, it will always be a mindset shift. We are all naive and kids when we are in our 20s, 25s. We think that we have a long way to go, but you never know when that 25 turns to a 29 and the clock starts ticking and you feel the pressure that I've been 13, I've not done anything. So don't wait for that time to come and regret that I should have done something. In your position, whatever you can do to not regret later, try everything. If your mind says, I want to try this, do not question what if it doesn't work out. You will never know. I still struggle and I second guess, I doubt myself. And sometimes I come through that hurdle and think, was I fixated on this for so long and I could do this all along? So give yourself that opportunity, give yourself that mindset, give yourself that discipline. And it comes with a lot of discipline that even if we hate our jobs someday, you have to show up to them. Not just call in sick, face it, because that's going to mold you to be a better version and show up in that discipline. So soft skills, that's all if I could summarize is have those soft skills.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's pretty answered my question. So yeah, that's it. That's it for today's episode, and I hope all of our viewers understood some of the other things we tried to convey them through this episode. And thank you for being on this. I hope you enjoyed it too.
Of course. I always enjoy this. I love paving the way. I wish I had all of this when I was starting off, and I would do anything to give all the fresh grads any support they can get.
Absolutely, that's my motto too. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
for speaking with me.
I hope you all like the interview. For now, I'm covering my most favorite field, which I am working on, that is food safety. But in future, we're gonna reach more industrial professionals from other fields too. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know in the inbox and I can reach out to them on LinkedIn and maybe we can get something from them too. All the best and keep hustling.